Although Selene, or Luna, was looked upon as goddess of the moon, Diana also was so regarded. In this capacity, she was often referred to as Cynthia. Kind of surprised none of those names get tossed around. Here comes the trans names. Seems like Luna's always the default. Oh. So, lately I've been getting a lot of suggestions for videos on how to come out as trans. Well, makes sense given that it's Pride Month, and I figure, why not just kind of throw my hat into the ring? Maybe, perhaps I might give a perspective that you've never heard of before. So, the biggest thing I think of right away is something I learned from my English professor. The main piece of advice he said when it comes to public speaking is know your audience. And the example that was given is giving a lecture on dirigibles. So, if it's somebody that only really knows about heavier than aircraft, airplane, you're going to give a different speech on people that are enthusiasts on dirigibles or zeppelins or other such things. And it is a very similar thing when it comes to, well, coming out to the people that need to know. So, really the first thing is try to get an idea of what the person knows about trans people. I know from my experience, I was the only trans person that people knew for a long time. So, most of their sources came from really out there news stories. And so, if you're coming out to such people, be prepared to have to dispel a lot of rumors as, well, the way things are spun these days, a lot of people think I'm doing some sort of child sacrifices and using my satanic power to control any that are within my power. Or perhaps the other extreme, that they think I'm insanely violent and if I don't get my way, I'm gonna do some horrible things. So yes, these are things to keep in mind. And the other thing as well is if you ever watch like a crime drama of any kind, they talk about the con man. Now what does con and con man stand for? Confidence. If you speak with enough confidence, people will follow you anywhere. Like for instance, would you believe that the invention of sliced bread isn't even 100 years old? Even if that fact wasn't true, I'd like to say that I said that with enough confidence to make you believe that. And I'll leave it up to you if it's true or not. But there it is. Confidence. From there, the other thing is, well, it really comes down to how you want to do it. I know for me personally, I like it when people are direct with me. None of this like telling a big fantastic story to eventually get around to the point that they're trying to make. So for instance, I think it's a lot more effective to just kind of simply say, I'm trans. And then if they have questions as to what that means, you answer them. However, if that's not really your style, perhaps you can kind of start with a story and then relate it back to your main point. However, from my experience, this isn't really the kind of topic you can go, oh yes, speaking of which, because more often than not, if the subject is being brought up, it's probably not in a good light. It would almost be in the same taste of being like, oh yeah, speaking of war crimes that are slowly plaguing the country. Like I say, I think we need a much better PR team than this because there are some very bad accusations out there, and, well, all it takes is one person to act on any of them. But that's not really the point here. So, another thing to consider as well is, what do you prefer? Is it better to go for a one-on-one? Or would you rather have it where you just tell everybody in one big, shall we say, intervention? I know probably the biggest things that I've taken away from having to come out to a lot of people is I think it's good to like invite a person or a group of people with the explicit interest of making sure that you want to tell them something. Because if you get lost, or they get lost, at least one of you will remember that, oh yeah, didn't you want to talk to me about something? Which, yes, that may be a very scary question. But at the same time, it's something to kind of lead into a launch point, if you will. I almost feel like I'm just kind of giving advice on public speaking, in all honesty. Well, not sure if it would help, but perhaps I can give you some personal examples about how I came out as trans to people. So, the first two, well, actually, it was more than two. The first, maybe groups would be easiest. So, the first person I ever came out to was my mother. And the way I did it was just kind of went with the explicit idea of leaving a note for her to read saying, I need to talk to you about something. And yes, I will admit the whole time as I was part of that conversation, there was very much some intensity of like, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna happen? When are they gonna ask me? I gotta do it. But like a band-aid, just rip it right off. Because if you just take your time with it, it is gonna be far more painful. And then after that, I then came out to my friends. We were all part of this online chat room, so to speak. I'm being vague because, well, let's just say as of late I've been a little worried about privacy issues, so I'm keeping it vague in that capacity. We were all there, so I just simply wrote the message saying, yes, I think this might be the case. Well, it was one of those things where, like, I knew I was trans for a while, just didn't really have the terminology for it. But the way I came out to both of these groups is that it was the idea that I think this is the case, but I'm going to therapy to make sure. And it was very much true. Except really the major reason I was going to therapy was I just wanted to have some sort of undeniable proof. A certificate of authenticity, if you will. And maybe that wouldn't be a bad idea to just kind of carry something like that around. If anybody gives me some odd looks, it's just like, no, you see, it's alright, I'm on the level. I don't know, do people even say on the level anymore? So, those were the two first groups. After that, it was just trying to figure out how to come out to my dad's side of the family. So, simply put, there was a bit of a riff on that side of the family a while ago, and my siblings, as well as my cousins, set up a bit of a communication network as they hated the idea that they couldn't see each other so often, so there's kind of this console that you can call on for emergency situations and whatnot. And that was the thing. Called them all together, had a great meal at a local pizza place that we all love. And then when the time came, just simply told them that I was transitioning. And it seems like the most common question I run into is it alright? As in, like, you're getting this from a legitimate doctor. You're not buying this stuff on the black market where it could be laced with fentanyl. And obviously that is the case. I'm seeing a professional doctor and then getting my stuff in the pharmacy. It'd be a lot more expensive to have to pay for it out of pocket, so I'm very appreciative that insurance is the thing. And the main reason I told them is because I was kind of hoping maybe we would just kind of spread the news around as well as help build up that confidence like I was talking about earlier. And then after that, it was just kind of onesie twosies here and there, just kind of telling different relatives or different friends. It was always kind of a hilarious thing because certain people would not see the old notification and they'd come back like a year or two later and they'd just be like, oh yeah, Julia's available. I'm just like, dang it, they don't know who I am. And they're just like, oh, it's been that long, right? Yes. I guess about the only other thing to mention was coming out at work. So I was really the first person at the company to do so. At least that I know of, or like the very least somebody that was in the midst of transitioning when they started work. So started as the dead name, came out the other side as the new name. And really, the main thing is just to kind of tell your supervisor about it. That way, you can see what kind of protocols are in place. And if there are no protocols in place, then, well, just kind of ask around, figure out what is the best way to do it. I know for me personally, the main thing is I just wanted people to know. Because obviously, there's going to be some differences between when I started and where I am now. And I guess from there, just kind of keep an eye out for discrimination, but I don't really think that's too much of an issue these days. From my experience, there are a lot of people that are very much afraid of trans people. They're really transphobic. And the main reason for this is because, well, there's a lot of power. It's the idea of your word against theirs. And because you're a minority, your word is going to have more weight than theirs. So keep that in mind as well. Try not to push the issue too much. Enough to just kind of tell people about it, but not so much that you're going to put somebody in a corner. After all, it's like the old Tom and Jerry thing. A quartered animal can do some damage. So, as you can tell, not really much of a script. Mostly just kind of a makeshift dissertation on this. That's really about all I've got. I guess I could mention that I did make a video previously on this subject, which was talking about a big book that I read at the time that helped give me the confidence I needed to come out as trans. However, severely downvoted as the book seems to have a bit of a poor reputation, which is very annoying as I absolutely love the story. But anyways, that's all I've got. If perhaps you have advice of your own, if you got any questions, feel free to ask. And try to keep the political talk to a minimum because, I get enough politics on a day-to-day basis. It would just be nice to have a break. Until next time, be yourself, no matter who that is.